Hey, peace and blessings, family. Look, y'all, I'm back up on this spiritual traditions, hearing about people's journeys, how they got into the tradition, particularly African spiritual traditions. And today I'm so blessed and so honored to be joined by my dear brother, Okewa.
Okewa.
Wow. All right, this dear brother, thank you so much for joining me. So, brother, where are you coming live to us from?
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate this outlet and is needed. So, I once again appreciate you. Thank you. I am tapping in from Atlanta, Georgia.
So, how did you get to Atlanta?
So, I got to Atlanta from Las Vegas. I was living in Vegas for 10 years, and I'm a professional dancer. So, I was in Vegas performing that entire time, and during the pandemic and shortly after the pandemic, when things started to reopen and kind of get back to normal, I took that moment to kind of just jump off the porch and say, it's time for me to go to Atlanta and pursue television and film because I want to act on TV and film. So I said, you know what? I think now is the time, and I'm going to take it. So I packed my car up. I drove 2 days, and we got here. So.
Sorry about that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I packed my car up. I drove for 2 days, and we made it here blissfully.
Okay, so you chose Atlanta because you want to get into film. So I know
Yes.
Tyler Perry Studios is there, and
Yeah,
it's like Black Mecca in down there in Atlanta.
Black Mecca,
Yeah.
Black Hollywood.
Black Hollywood,
All the
right on.
sound stages are here. The production companies are here. For those that are into the comic book world, and Marvel Universe is here. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Born and raised. I tell people all the time I was born there. I wasn't. I was raised there. I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Atlantic City. Okay, right on, right on.
So I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey, in a car, right? And car broke down, and here I come. I choose to enter the world, right? So born in Atlantic City, New Jersey, raised in Philadelphia. My entire tenure is in the city of Philadelphia. So
Right on. So let's back up a little bit. So you were born in Atlantic City, then you ended up in Philly. What was it like growing up in Philly? Like, was that the 90s? Was that what was that like in your adolescence years?
So I grew up in Philadelphia. The 90s. I would say the 90s. Born in 1988. Grew up in Philadelphia in the 90s. Elementary school, kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, everything in South Philadelphia. For me, Philly was great. Philly is, and we spoke about it earlier, Philly is a super duper blue collar city. Pennsylvania is a super duper blue collar state. So to be raised around and have the understanding of hard work and ethic, drive, especially as a dancer, as an entertainer, as an actor, a singer, all that, a musician, all of that stuff. Just understanding like being the first one there and the last one out. That's how I was raised, and that's where I come from.
So what were you doing besides singing and dancing? Do any spiritual work in your adolescent years, or were you exposed to this tradition at all?
Of course. Yeah, that story. You see how big the smile on my face got, right?
Yeah.
That man, exposed to it. I mean, I don't think can you ever overexpose someone to something, right? I really don't know that answer, right? But exposed to it, absolutely. So I come from a family that is well known and well versed in the Ifa, Lukumi, Orisha community. In the city of Philadelphia. My grandparents are actually the eldest priest and priestess of the city of Philadelphia, with my grandfather being a chief Baba, a Babalawo, an Omo, which is child of Shango, and my grandmother being the eldest priestess of Philadelphia. They have about 50 plus years. The last number, I don't want to be wrong, so I'm not going to say it out loud. But 50 plus years in Orisha and Ifa worship. My grandmother is a priestess of Oshun, the eldest Oshun priestess in the city of Philadelphia. My grandparents are in their early 80s right now.
Wow.
So my family also created, thanks with the help, well, not help, but the creation from my grandparents, they created a festival which is considered the eldest and longest running African street festival in America, which is called Odunde.
Mhm.
And that was created by my family. My grandparents created that with the help of my aunt Lois Fernandez, Ibayan Bayantunu. She's no longer with us in the physical realm. Was created by my grandparents with the help of my aunt Lois, which is my grandmother's older sister. So she had a certain sense of connections in the city of Philadelphia, so far as city hall and politics and all of that type of stuff. And they brought her on board to create this African festival, which is a festival geared to celebrating and honoring Oshun.
Mm.
But back in the late 60s, early 70s, they couldn't name it the Oshun Festival because nobody's going to get that. Nobody's going to understand what the context is behind that unless we spend all day explaining to people why it's called that. So they just kind of, in a general format, just they said we're going to call it Happy New Year. So we're going to call it Odunde, which is a celebration that comes from Nigeria that they do every year as well. So yeah. So I've been overly exposed to this. I grew up in it. Is all I know.
Right on. So with that being said, when you were younger, when everybody else was going to church, or because it's just Philly, maybe they was practicing Islam, how did this African spirituality for you as a young person, like, did you find yourself having to explain that all the time, or was it just like we just doing this over here?
Yeah, actually, I always found myself explaining it. So growing up, my brother and I, we went to school in the Italian neighborhood. So South Philadelphia is broken up, as Philadelphia is for those who are familiar with the city of Philadelphia. South Philly is broken up into two parts. So you have a big side, you have a small side. We're from the small side of South Philly, which is closer to Center City. But all of our lives, we went to school in South Philadelphia. So as I mentioned earlier, I went to kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school in South Philadelphia. Right. So being around a diverse group of kids and a diverse group of people and growing up around a diverse group of people, whether it was in my neighborhood, whether we were traveling out of the neighborhood to go to school or to go play basketball or to go to dance class or to go to, practice for sports and things like that. There was always something that was being explained. My entire family, we all have Yoruba names, right? We all have Yoruba names. So explaining that in school and having to correct people on a consistent basis and explaining your religious practice, explaining what it is that we do, explaining what it is that we come from, and trying to teach people that look like us where actually it is that we come from and the respect that we're supposed to have for this. It became tedious in a sense. It became, a lot to deal with. I tell people all the time that are newbies in the practice or that have spent quite some time in the practice is that I was the guinea pig for this. Right? I was the guinea pig for this, right? So being as though I do have a traditional Yoruba name, right? I used to get made fun of for my name. I used to get made fun of for my cultural upbringing and my cultural love and the respect that we came with it. And, I was the kid, my brother and I, we were the kids in kindergarten, first day of school, or pictures and things like class pictures, and dripped and draped up in African, traditional African garb because we wanted to wear it. You know what I mean? So we used to get talked about that, and we'd talk about our names, and but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it was always an explanation that had to be given behind why are you different. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where that part plays in that.
Did that change for you when you got, like, say, to high school?
For me personally, yes, it did. It did change because I went to a performing arts high school, so everybody was different. Everybody brought a certain sense of difference to that institution, everyday life, being able to see that I was like, oh, okay, I'm okay here. I'm normal here. I'm regular here. And then I also went to school with other practitioners of the faith, and so
Oh,
something recognizable.
right on. So let's back up for a minute. You said Yoruba. So a lot of people may not know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think it's just a tribe in Africa, like there are Aways and Fantis and what you said Ile, like what are all of those things?
Okay, so I know, right? I'm just talking like,
That's okay, no, that's okay. That's what we're supposed to do. That's why I say interview.
Ashe. So, Ile. Okay, so as Sister Rolanda, you mentioned Ile or Yoruba. Yoruba. What is Yoruba? Right? Yoruba is, of course, lack of a better term, Yoruba is the tribe, one of the main tribes out of West Africa, but out of a certain region of West Africa, Nigeria. Right, so Yoruba is the tribes. There's multiple tribes. You have Efik, you have Igbo, you have the Yorubas, and a few others. So this is where Ifa comes from. This is where the practice of Orisha worship comes from. And we say religion for lack of a better term. And in conversational value, we say religion. Mm-hmm. Ifa is actually not a religion. Ifa is a way of life. Ifa is a way of life. Ifa is something that you practice on the daily, from sun up to sundown, every hour on the hour. There's certain positions within Ifa, there's certain setups within Ifa that make it a way of life. I tell people all the time, think about it this way. When you're driving down the street and you get that green light that you never get on the street that you always drive down, and you get that green light, that's a part of the everyday practice, right? I'm thankful for that. Wow, Orishas, Olodumare, I never get this light. I'm always late to work. Thank you. You know what I mean? So in that sense, in that essence, that's how you are able to see the factor of it being everyday life.
Gotcha.
So I'm just, speaking Yoruba, saying certain words that are respective to the Yoruba language, Ile, house, Orishas are, our guardian angels, or Olodumare, God Almighty, Ifa, the ultimate diviner, the ultimate, testament and understanding of destiny, things like that.
So how do you feel now that you start to see a little bit more people, a lot of people practicing this tradition? How can I say? How do you know when it's like, usually when people go to church, like it's like 1,000 churches on every corner. You know what I mean? Especially in Black communities.
Oh yeah.
You don't always see that with this particular spiritual tradition, if you will. How do you feel about it getting more light? But we do have a lot of eBay, Facebook,
Yep.
How do you feel about seeing people practice this tradition, but you don't necessarily always see where you can go and learn to practice it? Like when you join, it's churches everywhere. You can leave one church tomorrow, go to another church the next day.
Yeah.
But you can't always do that in African spiritual traditions.
Yeah. So that's actually that's a really good one, because it's a lot more prevalent these days in certain places in the United States, right? Where, as I mentioned to you earlier, myself, my family, we were the guinea pigs for this, right? We kind of crept behind the wall and was like, yeah, everything's good, guys, come out. You know what I mean? So of course it's more prevalent. Everything in life is meant to change. Everything in life is meant to grow. Everything in life is meant to advance, right? And that's actually the point. That's the point of it. So to see the aspects of growth within our way of life, our practice, is really, really beautiful to me. It's really, really great. Do we have them on every corner right now? No, but everybody starts somewhere. Mm-hmm. Everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts at a specific spot to go to a specific spot and to continue to grow. So will it get there? Of course. Do we still have a lot of work to do? Yeah, we do. Certain practices many practices that we perform, and that we think, ways that we go about things and stuff like that, to the average eye, it's unorthodox. You know, it's very unorthodox. It's very unheard of. It's very I can't see that, or let me turn away, or let me no. That is our right to God. You know, that is our right to the Orisha. That is our right to Egun, our ancestors. And that's what they did. We're just kind of keeping it going. You know, we have to kind of stop looking at things as a people, right? As unorthodox and wrong and this and that and that and this. So if it was wrong, don't eat fast food anymore. You know what I mean? But for me, it's a beautiful thing to see because people, our people, we're getting back to what we were taken from. We're getting back to something that we probably should have been back to a long time ago. And we have an understanding and we're proud. We're proud. And to see that is a beautiful thing. You're like, okay, we got it right. We got it right.
What is the connection between, you said Ifa and then you said Lukumi, and those are just two. Mm-hmm. What's the connection to those two? Like sometimes when you see people, either they're a staunch traditional, it's a word that they use when somebody believes in the way that you do it all the way from Africa. Is that Ishesha? And then there are people who are here, like in the United States, and they like, well, you got to factor in us being here in the U.S. and we do things a little differently. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's the connection between those two? And are there differences? And does the differences matter?
Okay, so awesome. Yes, there are connections. Are they very much connected? Yes. So it's funny. I was in a car yesterday, and I was talking to my driver, and my driver is actually a religious historian. Right. He's in school right now for religious studies. And we were talking about Christianity. We were talking about Catholicism. We were talking about everything that falls under those lines. And of course, Ifa came up, Lukumi came up, just Orisha worship in general came up. And it was a great conversation we were having. What I explained to him is that when you go outside and it's raining, right? When you go outside and it's raining, we use a certain tool to protect us from the rain, right? That tool is called an umbrella, right? And when you open the umbrella, it's protecting you from getting soaking wet. Right. Okay. Now, when you watch the motion, when you watch the usage of the umbrella, when you watch it, what are you watching? You're watching the water fall from every part of the circumference of an umbrella. Right? You're watching the water fall from every single part of that circle that creates an umbrella, right? I tell people all the time, Ifa's the umbrella. Right? Ifa's the umbrella. When you open that umbrella and the water begins to fall, those are all of the different denominations that fall from the side of the umbrella. So you have Lukumi, you have Santeria, you have Voodoo, you have Vodun, you have 21 Division, you have Akan tradition, you have Asar Set, the list goes on. The list goes on, right? So that's the connection. Ifa's the umbrella, as I always tell people. Everything else that fall off of the umbrella, which is that water in that sense, right? You use that analogy. Yeah. That are the different denominations of what Ifa has solidified, right? And that comes through different, the transatlantic slave trade and what we experienced in that time. And so that all comes from, all of that type of situational issue that we dealt with as a people. But that's what Ifa is. That is the connection. There are a lot of connections. I don't think anyone's worship in that style or in the practice is bigger than the next. I don't. Number one. Number two, African Americans, or as my family would say, Africans in America. Right. We continued what it was that we were taken from. We just continued it. Was it different? Of course it was different. Why? We didn't have the resources we were privy to back in the homeland. Okay. So in understanding not having those resources and understanding not having certain tools, right? We still continued it. Right. That's the beauty of black folks, right? Continue it. We'll figure it out. Right. We'll figure it out as they did. So in figuring it out, Africans here in America figured out how to keep theirs. Caribbeans figured out how to keep theirs and how to work it from that angle, right? The Spanish figured out how to keep it and work it from that angle.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is physical practice or physical tools, physical items.
I get that.
Right? I didn't have in Cuba, we didn't have access to obiabata, cola nut.
Right.
We didn't have access. It doesn't grow there. What's the next thing? What's the next thing that I can use in order to continue my divination process, to get an answer that I need, to get clarity, to get understanding? What's the next thing close to an obiabata cola nut? A coconut. Cool. Let's go get it. Let's use that.
I know.
It's the same. It has the same feel. It's a very similar texture. All of that. We can use that. So there are a lot of similarities. I think people get to a point where some thought processes are, this is better than this. African Americans here came with the Lukumi understanding. It's not until later where we found Isheshe style Ifa.
Gotcha. Are there similarities between Isheshe and, say, Christianity? The way Black people do it in America?
Of course. Oh my God, yes. Of course. Which now I could be responding biased a little bit, but of course there are. Number one. Number two, a lot of that practice comes from us. It comes from Isheshe. It comes from what it is that we believe in and what we practice. A lot of difference, but a lot of that comes from how we practice and how we worship. So there's so many similarities. I mean, the Holy Ghost is, off the rip. What's the Holy Ghost? The Holy Ghost is somebody getting possessed, speaking in tongues, is somebody speaking a language that is a very sacred language, but it does mean something. When you hear it, you understand the power of it. You know what I mean? Us going up to a person and speaking to them in a religious format when possession happens and ain't nothing but the Holy Ghost. So yeah.
So have you seen Woman King yet?
I have not, and I need to. I should have saw it on day one.
So Ifa is in there. So that, just so you know that. So all of that stuff is in there. However, so blood sacrifice is in there. What is the so when I've seen it twice, I've been taking young people to see it.
Beautiful.
So every time there's a blood sacrifice, sometimes you'll hear Black people who don't understand will say, "That's just devil work. That's What is the purpose of Black blood sacrifice, and how is that connected inside of Christianity? So I think sometimes you have to give people a reflection of themselves when they're looking at things. It's like, well, your book do that too. So
listen, people be peopling, man. I tell you.
People be peopling. I like that.
I tell you, people have a way of people have a way of seeing something and not correlating it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We as human beings, we have a way of seeing something and not connecting it.
Yeah.
Which kind of is very ignorant. It's kind of very ignorant because you're not using your intelligence,
right,
to put 2 and 2 together to make 4.
Right on.
Right. So once again, that's a different conversation. That's a whatever. But we have to begin to use our common sense.
Right on.
We have to begin to use our intelligence. Old proverb, what goes around comes around. That's positive and that's negative.
Right.
That's it. It's simple. It's positive and it's negative. What goes around comes around. So we talk about the animal sacrifices. We talk about the eje, the blood. We talk about, you're spilling animal blood. Da, 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 da. Yeah, we are. You want to know why we are? Because this is the actual animal that they ate. This is the animal that they ate. This animal is very specific to this Orisha or this sector of Egun or whatever it may be, whatever you pick, whatever it may be. This animal is actually very sacred to it. We're not killing animals just to kill them. Remember what we do. We eat them. Certain parts of the animal we may keep for specific reasons. If we don't use those two aspects of it. We'll take it somewhere that that is sacred to that space, that is sacred for that specific Orisha within that space. Remember, let's take it back. Let's go back. Let's go back. Right? I'm glad we use animals as the sacrifice now.
Right on.
Because at one point, it was us.
Right on.
It was us.
Mm-hmm.
I got stuff to do tomorrow. I got money to make. I can't voluntarily give myself up for the greater cause. I'm sorry. I can't. What's the next best thing?
Animals.
And there's a certain sense of sacred energy within that. There's a sense of sacred energy within using, or that, should I say, that part of the practice, right? It's, they eat just like we eat. Thank God for that animal sacrifice. You want to know why? A community just ate. A community just ate. So yeah, I'll take that pig. We'll bust him down. You want to know why? Everybody gets to eat.
Okay. So explain to us the concept of Orishas.
The concept of Orishas. That's so dope that you pull this up, because I actually own this art piece. I own this art piece. Wow. The concept of Orishas, the conversation I had yesterday was very, very similar to the question that was just asked, right? So Orishas are, as I say it, I always say it to make it make sense to people. Orishas are God's disciples, in a sense. Okay. Once again, lack of a better term, or just conversational value. Orishas are God's disciples. God can't do everything for everybody at that specific time, right? So they always say, yes, pray to God, pray to God. Yeah, of course, pray to him. Of course, pray to Olodumare, or some people could say Eledumare. Pray to him, or Akamara, the God Almighty. Pray to him. He may not be able to get to it in the timely fashion that you want him to. So who are the next responsible beings that can? The ones that work for God Almighty himself. The Orishas. The Orishas are very specific to people. The Orishas are very specific to everyday life. They are very specific to energy, life's energy, everyday movement. And Ile, period. Ile, Ia, which is earth. Very specific to different sectors of the earth. Right? This is a very earthly and grounded way of life. And the Orishas are very, very connected to that. This is where they come from. This is where they've lived. This is where they thrive. This is where their best work is done. Right? And the Orishas, each Orisha that people see pictured here, have specific jobs for specific reasons, for specific tasks, for specific destinies. Right? They each have a job. Their job is to take care of us. Their job is to also put us in our place when we think we are bigger than the greatest thing that's out there in life. So that's the responsibilities of the Orishas. They are very, 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 very important deities. As you can see, man and woman. Very specific to who it is, that we are, and who we've grown to be, who we've grown to become as man, as woman, you know what I mean? So that's the importance of the Orishas.
So how do you get to know what Orisha is governing you, or you being governed by? Because like right now, everybody I meet is Oshun. Like it's like I don't know if that's because of Beyonce. Like I don't know. Like you know what I mean?
How did I know that was going to be? How did I know you were going to say that?
Because who don't love Oshun? But I'm just saying, like everybody be like, oh Oshun, but they haven't gotten a reading. Like they may have gotten 1 or 2 readings. Like, well, I just feel like, do you pick your Orisha? Or do they pick you? But how do you know?
Right. So in tapping into that, it's a process. It's a process to find out who governs in my head. I hope it's Oshun, right? 10 times out of 10 is not.
Right.
Right? 10 times out of 10 is not. So
I
who
know.
governs my head? Who walks with on my feet? Who walks me? Who defends me? Who this is that? So there's a process for that. That process is through divination, through what we call dafa or ita. And that process is to sit on the mat with a respected priest called Babalawo, in which I am a Babalawo, to sit on that mat and to go through the process of finding out who governs you, right? Who governs you? As we tap back into that difference between Lukumi and Isheshe, there's a certain way to do it Lukumi style. There's a certain way to do it Isheshe style, right? But that's how one would go about receiving that information about themselves. And a lot of people always want to know it before the time comes, so that they can better assess their life. They can better live their life, right? So it is very important. Also understand that you may get a general reading on who yours is, on who governs your OD. When the time comes for you to really take the next steps, that might change.
Mm-hmm.
So you thought it was Oshun today, tomorrow it could be Oya. You know, she was walking you to Oya.
Okay. Okay.
You know, so
why is it important to have readings done by a Babalao to find out this information?
So it's very, very important to have readings done by Babalao, because we all come to Ile Aye. We all come to Earth with a specific task. We come to Earth with a specific task, with specific jobs, and we're all here for a reason, right? You go to Babalao or Awo Orumila, you go to us to find out, what is my destiny? What is my reason for being? What am I supposed to be doing out here? What is my calling? What is my objective? You know, what are the ideas that I'm supposed to come up with in my own, so that I understand what my life is giving, that I understand what my life is supposed to be presenting, not only for yourself, but for the greater good of mankind, right? We believe that we speak about Iwa Pele, and we speak about Iwa Rere, gentle character, gentle character, right? And we say a motto that I was raised with is to bring good into the world and let none be lost, right? When you have an understanding of that type of motto, when you have an understanding of that type of teaching, general form, you have an idea of my purpose here on life or in life. Okay, cool. So I'm here on Earth. I understand what my purpose is. I understand. And if I don't, I need to go and seek help or seek that understanding from a Babalawo. I need to see what my destiny is. I need to see what my purpose is. I need to see where my importance comes from in life. A lot of people don't have that. I had this conversation yesterday as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't have that understanding of their importance in life. What is your purpose? What is your purpose? That's why we live in tumultuous times right now. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No one understands their purpose. What is your purpose? That's the importance of sitting with a Babalawo.
Okay. So once you go through that whole step, when do you know you're supposed to be initiated? And if so, what is initiation? Like, why do you need to do that? You just get readings and doing what the Babalawo tells you to do.
Some people do. Some people get readings, they doing what the Babalawo tell them to do. Some people is really hitting them and it's touching them, and they like, you know what? It's my time. Or Orisha has come to them. Egun has come to them, the ancestors, right? Some people may say Olodumare came to me and really, really, really reassured it for me, right? Okay, great. Now do it. Let's go. Let's do it. Right? Let's do it. You're putting yourself in understanding that motion and understanding that movement. You're putting yourself in divine timing and in a divine order, right? Okay. So it needs to be done, right? People get that when, I mean, everybody's story is different. Everybody's story is different. Mine, I needed it. And there was a series of readings I had gotten. There was a series of work that I had gotten or that I had done and things like that kind of reassured that, hey, brother, it's the clock is on. It's go time. Let's go. So I think when it really hits set person, you know it, and that's when you jump with it. And that's when you go with that. You go with your feeling. Some people say that your gut feeling, that's when you go with it.
Right on. Is there what do one do if, say, if you got a reading and you've been getting readings, and then you realize the person who gave you the reading wasn't really ordained to do the readings?
Mm-hmm.
Does it make all of that stuff null and void, or do you? Because sometimes I talk to people, they've had like bad experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
then they like done on the tradition, like like in church, if you have a bad preacher, you go to another damn church. You know what I mean? You don't be like, I'm done with Jesus. Like, I don't. They don't never just give up on Jesus. You know what I mean? They just go
Right.
to the church.
Right.
So, what suggestion would you give to someone if they were really struggling and needing to, they thought they was getting the work done right, and turned out that none of the stuff was right?
So that was great question right there, because a lot of people need to a lot of people have fallen victim to that, and a lot of people need to understand that it's not a rush. Never, especially in something like this. I encourage people never to rush.
Mm.
I encourage people never to rush. Please do not rush. The reason you are not rushing, and the reason you shouldn't need to rush, is because that everything comes when it's supposed to come. Everything will happen for you when it is supposed to happen for you. Okay, everything will transpire for you when it is supposed to transpire for you. So the key word is when it's supposed to.
Got you.
Okay. Rushing this just to get certain accolades or certain titles or certain ifs, ands, or buts. Can you teach? Right. So a lot of people fall victim in that essence to going to the wrong person, to go into the wrong house, to go into the wrong people to get this work done, because they're just so eager. They're so eager. They're ready to get it. They're ready to get it. Pull back. Pull back. A lot of people want something that we all have to notice. A lot of people's story, a lot of people's upbringing in this path is the same. It's the same, because we all were just fighting for understanding. We were fighting for not only understanding in our life, we were fighting for understanding for our lives. So we rushed it, right? Don't rush it. When you don't go with someone that is ordained, it is null and void. It is. Certain points might have been made that are correct, that you can kind of connect to and tap in with, but it wasn't by somebody that was ordained. It wasn't by somebody that went through the process. It wasn't by somebody that is giving the correct word. It wasn't from a true awo orumila. It wasn't from a true person that studies this, that knows this, or that comes from this. So it does null and void it, right? Until you go and you get the right. I tell people all the time as well, clients and a few of my godchildren, I tell them, I say, you don't find Ifa, Ifa finds you.
Wow.
You don't find Odisha, Odisha finds you. In turn, of course, you do find it. Of course you do, because you lay your eye on it. You notice it. You're like, okay, but that was Ifa finding its way to you. And that is very honest. That is a very honest movement. That is a very honest phrase. We just got that. We have to notice it. We have to understand what journey that we have just embarked on. A lot of people find this practice. A lot of people find this way of life from getting invited to something that's beautiful, not to the nitty gritty of it.
Right.
But that it's opened them up. They've gone to a drumming. They've gone to a celebration. They've gone to, a Egun celebration, a cajon for Egun, a Guido, a Fundamento. They've gone to these things, and they're like, this is beautiful. I mean, they're looking around the room. They're looking at the thrones. They're like, this is beautiful. Wow. That was Orisha finding them. A simple invite from a friend. So I share that with people all the time, and they're always like, "Wow, that makes sense."
What do you? So in your journey, has it, because it's been in your family? Do you find it to be an easy journey for you because you were born into it?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Not easy in the not easy in the easiest bit. No. 'Cause it's, because you, it's, 'cause it's, not easy in the easiest bit. No. No. 'Cause you, it's, 'cause it's, not easy in the easiest bit. No. No. 'Cause you, it's, 'cause 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 it's, ' I say, okay, so I'll give 50-50. I say easy because I have an understanding of who I am and what my purpose is in life and what my purpose always should have been or what it would have become. And living with Iwa Pele and living with Iwa Rere, having that understanding, right? That was easy. Being accountable for myself, that was easy, right? Going through life, no. I'm not rich yet. I'm not a billionaire yet. So it wasn't as easy as, one would think it to be. But again, it's all of those trials and tribulations, it's all of those testaments, it's all of the obstacles you may go through, it's all of the tests that you may go through and that you may experience within this journey that makes you who you are. It makes us.
So how do you see this tradition reflected in Philadelphia's culture?
Oh man. Once again, I got to give kudos and respect and a shout out to my grandparents for being very, very vocal, along with others that are very prominent practitioners of the culture, and even next to religion, just African spirituality. Period. Understanding what it is to be African, understanding what it is to be Muslim, understanding what it is to be a Ifa worshiper, a Santeria worshiper, Lukumi worshiper, voodoo, whatever it may be. Philadelphia was very, very tied in on that. Whether it was a grand community, humongous, whether it was, just the community within themselves, right? Philadelphia is very, very influential as one of the, it's one of the major hubs of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major hubs of it. We got to give credit to, Chief Surgeon, Kabiesi, for sending his soldiers to different parts of the United States to create temples and to create religious institutions and study hubs and places where you can have classes and places where people can learn. So Philadelphia is one of those places. My grandfather was sent to Philadelphia to create that from the king of Oyotunji village. Just seeing that work and being a part of that history, being a part of that knowledge and that upbringing, man, it really makes you feel. It really does make you feel special. But it's an ongoing joke that my uncles and I have, my mom and I have, my aunts, and it's an ongoing joke that we don't boast it. We've lived it. I mean, a lot of times I don't know that I'm the big guy in the room. I'm just here. I'm here for the festivities. I'm here to work. I'm here to, pay my due diligence and things like that. So Philadelphia is major.
So there is a king in America, like from Africa, or when you say Olatunji village in South Carolina, like what? Tell us about that lineage a little bit.
So, got to give a shout out to Oyotunji village in South Carolina. Oyotunji village, Chief Surgeon Adefumi, or as many called him affectionately, Kabiesi, was very pivotal in North America, right? Very pivotal in America so far as bringing Yoruba culture to the States and understanding what it was that our people needed, right? This is back in the days of, major cultural upbringings, right? The Black Panthers, right? You have the Nation of Islams, the Fruit of Islams. You have, all of these, pro-Black teachers and thinkers and things like that. This is when that came up. So he's very influential for bringing the African understanding of what Ifa is, of what Orisha worship is, to America, to the States, more in New York, East Coast, down South. Very, very influential in doing that. He created the first American Yoruba village here in the States, right? And they are still thriving today. They are still doing major work. They are still very influential. Because of them, other institutes have been opened and other elays and religious temples have been opened and created and still thriving today. So we all always have to give credit to, or surgeon credit to, Baba Kabiesi, Chief.
Is that him right there?
Ashe.
Right
Yes,
on,
yes. Yes, indeed.
So he was the king in the village in South Carolina.
Yes. So
Okay.
he's the first African American to go to Cuba and make Orisha.
Got you. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then your grandfather worked with him.
Yep.
Okay.
Very close, very like right hand man.
Okay. And then he left and came back up to Philly, or just picked Philadelphia to come in?
That part of the story, I don't know how and why he ended up in Philadelphia. I think it's because he was sent to Philadelphia. But my grandfather's from North Carolina. And then I always say my grandfather's from two places, North Carolina and New York. He got connected and they became, working partners, and people were sent to different sectors of the United States, and he ended up in Philadelphia, and then he met my grandmother. One thing led to another. That was all she wrote. And here we are, this influential Philadelphia family in Orisha worship.
Right on, right on. So that makes sense, because that's part of the migration pattern, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Coming from, I know my dad's people are from South Carolina, my mom's people from Virginia. That's the migration pattern. That's how they ended up in Philly.
Yep.
So thank God. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever go back to Olatunji Village?
I have not been to Olatunji Village since I was, I want to say maybe like 5 or 6.
Okay.
5 or 6. And the only reason I haven't gone back is because I travel myself, as a professional dancer, as a choreographer, teacher, artist. I travel myself, so I go where the money is. But I will get back to Olatunji, especially now. I'm a lot closer, living here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I need to go and pay my respects and pay some homage there, and just be amongst a lot of the brothers and sisters that I know, and a lot of the elders that I've heard of.
Right on, right on. So your dancing, is that a reflective of your spiritual belief?
Wow, that was a good question. Yes and no. More of a percentage of it for me is a reflection of my spiritual upbringing, my belief. Reason being is because I came from acting into dance. So I did musical theater, which has a dance component. And my choreographers and my teachers, directors, they saw something good in me, and they were like, "Yo, you should give this a shot." And I was like, "No, no, I'm not. I'm a thespian. I am an actor. I'm an actor. I'm an actor. I don't want to, dance. Dance took me and said, 'Come here, boy. I got you.'" And for me, dance was always something very, very like intriguing and interesting, because as an actor, to make people feel a certain emotion, you can hear us.
Right.
We're talking, right? We're doing a dialogue. We're doing a monologue. We're doing, we're sharing whatever the story is about, right? Verbally. Dancers, no. They're doing that through movement. Flying through the air, turning on one foot. I mean, certain movement and just style and, contemporary ballet, modern, jazz, hip hop, tap. I'm feeling all of these emotions, and you're not saying a single word. I said, that's an act of God. That's an art of God. I said, I got to be a part of this. And that was all she wrote.
So what is your duties of being a Babalao? Like, are you active in the Ile, or are you just kind of like, what are you doing?
No, I'm floating with it. No, I'm playing. No. I'm kidding. I am an active Babalao. I'm an active, I'm a very active Babalao. I'm a traveling Babalao. I mean, for those of you who are watching, and for if Orumila did not stay in one place. Orumila is the man who speaks multiple languages. He is the man who knows, he understands everything and everybody, and he traveled. He was a nomad. Orumila traveled. So I think that is it's a plus for me, right? To have that energy and to come with that spirit already before becoming Babalao, and then understanding that he was a man that traveled to many places. I'm like, oh wow, that makes sense. I've traveled to many places as a professional dancer, whether it be Europe, Africa, whether it be here in the States. I've traveled all of these places, and I've worked Ifa in a lot of these places, whether it was for myself, whether it was for clients or my godchildren. I have worked Ifa in all of these different places, and I give so much thanks for that. But yes, I'm a very active Babalao throughout the United States. Not only am I a Babalao, I'm Omo Agayu. Aganju is my father. Oshun is my mother, right? And I'm also what you call a tambolero or an Omo Anya. I am a initiated bata drummer. So I play the sacred bata drums, which are called Anya or Fundamento. It's a set of three, right? Three bata drums. You have the mother drum, you have the father drum, and you have the baby drum. The Iya is the mother. The father is the Itotele. The mother, the baby drum, the child is called Okonkolo. So I am a pretty well-versed drummer. And I mean, you name artistry, I do it, So, and it all ties into being a Babalao. It all ties into being a solidified worshiper and high priest of this faith.
Right on, right on. So if someone was interested in learning more about this, what would you tell them to do? Would you ask them to seek out first before getting on this path?
Wow. What would I tell them to do? Man, it's a lot. We'd be here for another 30, 45 minutes. That's a lot. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, I'll go simple. I would tell people, come to a drumming. Come to a bimbe. Come to a tambor. Come and see. Come and hear the music. Come and see the dance. Come and listen to the drums play. Come and experience it. Come and experience it. In which a lot of people, that is their first experience ever. They've gone to a drumming. You can ask the average person, how did you get into Orisha worship? How did you get into this? I went to a drumming. The drumming was lit. It called me ever since, So me personally, and no, I'm not being biased in saying that. I am a drummer, and come see us rock out. But come to a drumming, you'll get what will be explained to you over the course of your lifetime. You'll get that in one setting, off of one view. Then everything else will fall into place for you. So I tell people all the time, come to a drumming. Come and see it. Come and feel it. They don't happen all the time, but when they do happen, come and feel it.
Sometimes when I meet dancers, when I go to Oakland in particular, and I meet a lot of the dancers who are running different programs, a lot of them are in the tradition. And I wonder if that's because they got introduced to it through dancing.
That too.
You know what I'm saying?
That too.
So, is this a good religion for men? A good spiritual practice for men? I see a lot of women, but I just wonder how it pans out.
Yo, you firing off right now. These are some great questions. These are questions people don't ask. This is awesome.
I just wonder, because I do see a lot of women, but I just, for men, this is a lot of work.
Oh yeah, no, it's really great for men, and we need men. We need men, and a lot of things. People ask all the time. Okay, so is Ifa, is it male driven or is it female driven? It's a mixture of both. One can't move without the other, right? One can't move without the other. So we need men. I would say this: men are the muscle within the religion. Okay, men might be the diviners or the big babalaos, the big priests, chiefs, and this and that and that and this. But we can't move without the female, the female energy. We can't move without that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I can't do all of that work with an Ile full of men. We need that female energy around. We need, those hands to bless certain things. We need those hands to work certain things. Women know something that we don't know. We know something that women don't know. How do we know it all together? You bring it together. So it's not, it's not 100% matriarch. It's not 100% patriarch.
Right on.
We need it. I was about to cuss. I'm sorry. Forget. See, that's the Philly. That's the Philly coming out of me.
I know.
Forget title. Forget all of this big shit. Excuse my language. Forget it. I need you. And she should be saying the same thing. I need you. Cool. We need each other. Let's work.
Is there a way that all of the people who, like in Christian religion, they have Baptist conventions, they have, basically Baptist conventions. Is it something like that as it pertains to the spiritual tradition?
Absolutely. So, bringing it back full circle again, understanding the festival that my grandparents created, Odunde, right, in the city of Philadelphia, the eldest running, still active African religion in the United States, right? You have that. Even in Africa, you have many, religious celebrations that happen at certain times of the year. Here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have a humongous one coming up this weekend called Oshun Festival. And it's been going on for 10 plus years, right? So we have that coming up. We actually were very, very busy this past weekend with a couple of festivals. We have a festival in New York City. Shout outs to Baba Sekou Olaje and 256 Healing Arts in Brooklyn, New York. They do multiple festivals a year. Few of his godchildren host a festival in at the end of October, another Oshun festival. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and I always encourage people to just kind of do your research or get it from word of mouth. Be serious about it, so that you can actually go. They post it, it's happening, right? So I encourage people to always get the information. I encourage people to come and, show up, especially this weekend. This weekend is going to be incredible here in Atlanta, Georgia, with Oshun Festival, which is a legendary festival here in the city of Atlanta. And it's a sight to see. It's a sight to see. It really is.
All right. So what will be your closing remarks for the people that's been listening to you, and what closing remarks do you have for them, and where can people contact you?
Yeah, so my closing remarks will be by my album. No, I'm playing. I'm kidding. So first and foremost, people can find me on all social media handles. Instagram is at Diddy_Dominguez, DIDDY_DOMINGUEZ, Diddy_Dominguez. Please follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook at Okewa Garrett. My name's right here, so you guys can just catch it off of the tag on my screen. Twitter. No, I'm not on Twitter. I am on TikTok. You can go on TikTok and catch me at Diddy Dominguez again. And what else? Yeah, that's it. I'm active on all of my social medias. So, a lot of religious material, a lot of, celebratory material that I post, and it's beautiful. So I think everybody would like that. And we'll really take a lot from it and learn a lot from it. But I want to thank you, Sister Rolanda, for having me on here and picking my brain and asking incredible questions. Oh yeah, it's me singing.
Hey, so you sing as well?
I do. I'm what you call an akpon or an oni kankan. Yep. So I thank you for having me on this platform. This is incredible. I would love to do more things like this, and you came at the perfect time to ask me to be a guest. So thank you. Everybody, once again, bring more good into the world, let none be lost. We're in difficult, crazy times right now. Still, you would think it gets better, but life just gets lived.
Right. That's a good one. Don't go anywhere. Y'all, thank you so much for joining me. And I'll be back at y'all next week. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.